Hi, welcome to Reeling in the Years. That's the podcast for the week. See ya. All right, let me make sure we're recording all that good stuff real quick. Yeah, there's a lot more here than I expected.
Yeah. Groups, there's something. There's one last thing. Oh, yeah, the New Year's Rockin' Eve.
Hold on, we're still mid-research somewhat, everybody, or at least trying to make sure we've got everything.
Yeah, hold on a second.
I also need to pull up something else for best-selling albums by year. Or just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that makes sense. So there's that. Okay. I think we're good. We're having to double check all of our numbers and stuff at the last second here.
Yeah. This is a crazy year, dude. This is nuts.
So whenever you want to go.
All right. Give me a second.
Good with me.
I just gotta open a window and move this here.
Oh yeah, the historical events. Forgot to do that. We'll just go through that, I guess. No, I've got it here.
You got it?
Yeah, I mean, we may miss a couple of them.
That's fine. People aren't here about
as far as like sticking with the who on what kind of thing. Then
okay.
I don't know.
Ready?
I'm good when you are.
What's up, guys and gals? Welcome to Reeling in the Years, the official Model Citizens Media music podcast, where we go year by year and analyze it as deep as possible and in as short of amount of time of research as we possibly can. With me, as always, is the beautiful and illustrious Logan Moore.
Yeah, the shortest amount of research things a little too spot on sometimes. Yeah. That's what's hard about this show, and that's, well, we may as well just, I don't know, let's talk about that, I guess, first, because we are going to change a couple of things moving forward with this show, at least.
Yeah, there's a few things we wanted to do to make it easier on us, and I guess easier on the viewer or listener.
Kind of both, yeah.
Because we just, so for us, to make it easier for us, we decided to make these, I think the actual term would be bi-monthly.
Would it be bi-monthly or bi-weekly?
Because it's 2 times in a month.
Yeah, I guess
not 2 times in a week.
Yeah. So
we're having 2 in a month.
Bi-monthly.
So it's every other week we will have a Reeling in the Years. And that's because that's due to our lives. I mean, we're kind of busy as is, and actually doing research on a podcast, whereas like sometimes like Model Citizen Show, we literally just spout out garbage out of our mouths. Or I mean, even Millennial Gaming Speak, where I mean, I've done a gaming podcast before, and like I haven't done what you guys do, but you just have the news stories and everything like that right in front of you.
And you have the news stories. I mean, we all keep up with the gaming news on a daily basis, so we know what's happening, and we know what our takes are on that kind of stuff as it occurs.
But this is totally different.
This is different. There's like more of a research component, and I mean, it is more for us, I think, because it is getting hectic to record so many podcasts, so it's nice to not have to do it every week. But as far as like you, the listener, goes, I think we'll be giving you a better product because we will have more time to research. And that's like the one thing that I was thinking of as well. Like, it's just hard. It's hard to. So if you're watching the show right now live on YouTube, it is Wednesday when we're recording this. We typically record this on Tuesday or Wednesday. The process of me editing the MP3, because I do add a little bit more to it, is a longer one. And then I put that up by Monday. And then in addition to that, I then have to start researching for the next one, which we would then record on a Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah.
So the second this one goes out in MP3 format, I have to pretty much have everything researched for the next episode that we're then going to be doing.
Yeah. And also, I mean, yes, that's true. We will have a better product, I think, because of this. But also, I decided, and we both mutually decided that we would take out the B-side section of the podcast.
Yeah, at the very end.
Because we want it. Well, we're going to look into more options that we could discuss those kinds of topics in a different form. and we'll get to you guys. We'll tell you about it once it happens. But we kind of want to stick with the years because we've noticed that we just kind of go off once we find something that we like. We just go and because we're excited about it, and that's great. And I think that does create good content, but it's not the content that we're going for. So
well, that was my thing. Well, we talked about potentially making like B-side discussion episodes their own thing. So maybe have one where we just focus on breaking it down on a year-by-year basis, and then another one can be a little bit more of a free-form discussion-based podcast, which I think is good, but it strays from what this show is, and we should probably keep this show on track with what it is instead of trying to deviate and go back and forth, because I think that's a lesser... It's just confusing in signals, I guess, at that point,
and
more than anything.
I agree. Because the only reason why I brought that up was because I do want to talk about some of that stuff, like what our top 10 favorite albums are, like who our favorite guitarists are and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I think we could find a way to do that. We're talking about it now, and we have ideas, but we don't want to say anything until
just keep an eye on like the website, YouTube channel, all that stuff, and nothing tomorrow or next week, but maybe within the next month or so. Like we've got a couple ideas that we're kicking around, and I don't know, there's just still a lot of stuff that we're working on, like with Model Citizens as a whole. We launched pretty much as bare bones as humanly possible, just to have a place to post our podcasts and stuff like that. So I think we're trying to play around with a few other things right now, try to look a bit more professional, and there's a lot going on. But with this show, so that's the reason for the hiatus, I guess. We've kind of just been trying to rework things. I don't know, it's the research component's just hard because you don't want to mail it in, and because anybody can just look something up on the internet for 5 minutes and then pretend like they know about it. But like, I don't know, like we want to be well versed in this stuff, and it is hard to do. Like 2015 last week, or the previous episode, was a little bit easier just because we were around and we did know what was going on. So a lot of that was less research intensive. But like some of the other episodes we've done, it's like, I don't know what happened this year. And so then you have to spend like a couple hours like actually trying to figure everything out. And then I don't know about you, but I actually like try to listen to music from that year throughout my week to like get myself in that mind frame.
Yeah, I do. I do listen to a lot of, there are favorite albums that I have that I do actually listen to currently from this year in particular. And then also when we did 93, I was listening to a lot of stuff from 93.
I was too, yeah.
Just so happened to be actually, but it worked out in that case. And it works out in this case too. But I try to look and listen to things purposely from the year. So, but so that's what's happening with Reeling in the Years. And before we start, I think it's a good idea to just do our plugs in the beginning and at the end.
Yeah, for sure.
So you could find the website at www.modelcitizensmedia.com. We can find more podcasts like this. We have 3 others. Go check them out. You can find Logan on the Twitter at Moreman12, and you can find me on Twitter at super_ruse. So if you want to follow us, and you can follow the website at Model Pods as well, that's where typically everything is like updated. We're trying to figure that out too.
We need to get more active on social media as well.
More active on social media. We're trying to figure everything out. So that's about it. Let's get this rolling. Let's do it. Historical events. Logan, this is your area of expertise.
Sort of, I guess.
In some
1985. Ways. That's the year too. I don't know if we've even said that so far.
It's 1985, the year of big hair.
The year of big hair and bigger pants, I guess. So president at this time, Ronald Reagan. Vice President, George H.W. Bush. So that was what was going on in the White House. So everybody was all smiles and stuff, I guess, because everybody liked Reagan, supposedly. As far as like cultural events and things like that, the 49ers defeated the Miami Dolphins that year in the Super Bowl. So Joe Montana won another Super Bowl that year. Mike Tyson made his professional debut in boxing, which he won in a first-round knockout, which is interesting. Michael, here's one for you and I. WrestleMania debuted at Madison Square Garden.
Man, that's great.
This was a solid year for sports entertainment thus far. There's a couple other things. I mean, some of these are, it's hard to pick through this list and find which ones are like still relevant or like you'd be like, oh, hey, this thing with the mafia happened or something like that. It's like, what? Like, I don't need to know that. The Lakers won the NBA championship. I think they beat the Celtics that year, if I'm correct. So that was that Celtics.
Was that like
Lakers
Magic Johnson?
Yeah, Magic and those guys back then.
Larry Bird.
Back to the Future opened up in theaters over the summer, became the highest grossing film of 1985 this year. As far as where are the other? Oh, here's another good one though, which is kind of involves both of us. If you can't tell, I'm looking at this live, a timeline of this live right now. The NES released.
Oh no shit, dude! This is a big year.
This is a really big year.
This is a
just like we haven't even gotten into the music events
Oh
yet.
man,
Just like normal like events within history. This is pretty big. So yeah, the NES came out after everybody thought that games were dead or whatever, right? That was after the crash.
I think so. Yeah. Then the NES revived it,
and then they pretty much had a monopoly on the market.
Yeah.
And then in addition, I can't who won the World Series. Doesn't say.
There was no World Series.
There was no World Series this year. What do we usually do? We usually do football, basketball, and then the World Series too, don't we?
I
gotta look it up. I think it's the Mets, honestly. No, it was the Kansas City Royals. It was the Kansas City Royals versus the St. Louis Cardinals. The George Brett Royals won in 7 games. So
okay.
That was that.
Okay.
And then that was a big deal when the Royals won again a couple of years ago, because it was like, oh, it's been 30 years since they've been in it or whatever. And I was like, shut up. No one likes Kansas City. So
yeah.
That's also, true, last one I'll say, comic strip Calvin and Hobbes debuted this year.
Holy crap, dude. That's crazy.
That is crazy. I thought that was like more 90s for some reason. I mean, I guess it makes sense in my head when I think about it. Like,
yeah. No, that makes sense.
I think I just associate them with the 90s just because that was probably when I first learned about all of them, like Garfield as well. And
yeah.
I don't know.
When did Watchmen come out? Did Watchmen come out in 85?
I don't think so. I'd have to look that up. I don't think that would be on the historical timeline, would it?
No, it wouldn't.
I can look that up right here real quick.
It was 87.
Was it 87?
It was 86 through 87.
Okay. That makes more sense.
Anyway.
Yeah, we should have done a deeper dive into the comics and stuff like that, but I forgot about that part until just a minute ago. But yeah, a lot of cool cultural things. Like we said, WrestleMania and the NES coming out are both really cool and I think personal to the two of us specifically. So.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome, dude. I didn't know WrestleMania was 85. I didn't even think about that.
Who was WrestleMania 1? Was that Andre versus Hogan? Or was that...
I think so.
That 3?
I don't know.
2. I get all of those first like 5 WrestleManias mixed up in my head. No, first one was it was Roddy Piper and what's his name versus Mr. T and Hogan, right?
Was it really?
I'm pretty sure that was the first one.
Okay, I'm looking. It was Andre the Giant versus Big John Studd.
Okay.
Rowdy Roddy Piper and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
Yeah.
Mr. T accompanied by Jimmy Snuka.
Okay.
Oh, it was Hulk Hogan and Mr. T accompanied by Jimmy Snuka against yeah, you're right.
Roddy Piper and Paul Orndorff.
Yeah, accompanied by Cowboy Bob Orton.
Allow us to get our wrestling nerdage out real quick on this music podcast.
We need to
we don't have any. We have to have that seep into all of our other shows as often as possible.
Yeah, nobody can complain about it on this one. It's only us.
It's just us. So we can talk about WrestleMania and we can talk about entrance themes for the next 10 minutes if you want to.
Yeah, no.
I am a real American and all that other stuff. But yeah. That's cultural events, or I don't know. That gives you an idea of where the United States specifically was at during this time.
Yeah, for sure. Let's look in. I just exited out of the page. God damn it. Let's look at the Billboard year-end top 10 singles. If I could get to the thing here.
I haven't pulled up.
I haven't pulled up now.
Okay.
All right. Number 1. You ready for this one?
Holy crap, they have 2 of the top 3. Yeah.
Careless Whisper by Wham.
I always thought this song became big like because of memes or something like that, or because of the internet. I had no idea it was actually this big at the time.
Wham was huge, dude.
Wham was huge, but I did not think this song was. I don't know. I felt like this song gained traction because of the internet and the sexy sax dude and Deadpool and stupid stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Number 2, Like a Virgin by Madonna. That makes sense. I can see that. That was a big song. Wake Me Up Before You Go Go by Wham once again. They were
Two of the
top 3. That's crazy.
We haven't seen that so far.
Wake Me Up Before You Go Go, though. That is a fantastic. I like that song. I think it's
a good song.
I Want to Know What Love Is by Foreigner. But
that's a good song.
That's a fun one. I Feel For You by Shaka Khan. Out of Touch by Hall & Oates, number 6. One of my favorites, Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears is number 7. Money for Nothing by Dire Straits is number 8. Crazy for You by Madonna is number 9. And
so
Take
two, she has what, 2 in the top 8 then?
Yeah, she has 2 in the top 9.
2 in the top 9, I'm sorry.
And then another one of my favorites, Take On Me by Aha is number 10. That is a pretty solid. I mean, this is one of the first times. I think the other time was 93, right?
Yes.
Where we actually knew the songs.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we've known. 2015. We need to. In this is episode 5, so we know them more often than we don't. I guess.
Yeah. Sure.
I think. I don't know, man. Like, so we were like so unfamiliar with like some of the other top 10 singles, and we were like giving it a hard time. Like, is this really like a good representation of the year? All of these songs have stood the test of time. Like, I know every single one of these songs, and even past the top 10. Like, you got Easy Lover by Phil Collins in there, and Can't Fight This Feeling by REO Speedwagon, and the Power of Love by Huey Lewis, and Don't You Forget About Me by Simple Minds. Like, there's all these songs, like all the way down this list that like you still hear regularly. And I know we're only 32 years distance from this, so it's not like a super long time ago, but I don't know. These seem to have lasted more of the test of time. These have stood the test of time compared to some of the other ones we've seen.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I can totally get down with this list. Like, even like I'm continuing to go down, and there's like still so many good singles down through here.
Yeah, Head Over Heels by
Tears for Fears. Yeah,
Tears for Fears is down there. That's one of my favorites.
Also in the top 21.
Shout. Born in the USA. I'm not big on that song, but that's on here too.
The Heat is on. We Built This City. Like, there's just so many. The Miami Vice theme was in the top 27.
Yeah,
it was ranked 27.
It sure was. And speaking of that, let's look at the top albums of the year.
Yeah.
Because that kind of goes into that in some weird way. In January, Purple. So this is coming off from 1984. But Purple Rain by Prince was the number 1 album in January for most of January.
For the first 2 weeks of the month.
Yeah. Awesome album. I absolutely love that album. Great album.
It's a very good album.
I would say
it's probably his signature album.
It's definitely his best album. Every song on there. There's Darling Nikki. Is that what it's called? No. Yeah,
I think you might be right. Yeah,
something Nikki. I think it's Darling Nikki. Not a fan of that one. It's also a little weird, but otherwise,
Darling Nikki.
Yeah, otherwise it's a pretty solid album. The rest of January and the first week of February was ruled by Bruce Springsteen and Born in the USA. Again, I'm personally not a fan of the album. I'm not really that big.
I was gonna say, how do you feel about Springsteen as a whole? Because I think he is like maybe the most overrated musician ever. Like, I don't get it. Like, and I've tried to listen to him, and I like some of his stuff, but as a whole, like I just don't understand.
I think Born to Run is a really good album. and I did. I gave it. So it's weird. I gave Bruce Springsteen a chance about 3 months ago because I was like, I want to listen to something new, and then I listened to Bruce Springsteen because I always just gave it shit. I never really listened to it. I was just like, oh, that's for ninnies or whatever, that the young people say. And I listened to that, and I think The Edge of Darkness is the other one that I listened to. Both of those are pretty solid. I think Born to Run is probably his best work. I don't really like the song Born in the USA.
No, it's so repetitive and just
it's
bland.
It's just boring. I do like the song Born to Run. I think that's an awesome song. But yeah, Born in the USA I wasn't huge on. The next couple of weeks in February, or the rest of February, was dominated by Madonna and Like a Virgin. So that's pretty cool. I like Madonna. Like early Madonna is pretty sick. I think she made some good tracks back in the day.
That album touched the charts for the very first time, right then.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I wasn't expecting that. Wham! Then preceded that with Make It Big.
Yeah.
For the 3 weeks of March, first 3 weeks of March, or I guess the majority of March. I'm gonna assume this is the one that had "Wake Me Up Before You Go," and
this had so this track listing on this is Wake Me Up Before You Go," Everything She Wants is also on there, Freedom, Careless Whisper. It is the signature Wham album.
This the pinnacle of Wham albums. Make It Big. John Fogerty owned a week of the Billboard charts with Center Field. I've never heard of it. I do know who John Fogerty is, but
Put Me In, Coach, I'm Ready to Play Today. You don't know that song?
No.
Put Me In, I Can Be Center Field. That song?
No.
It's pretty sucky.
I don't know that song.
So you should be glad that you don't know it.
I'm happy I don't know it. The next 5 weeks after that, some of March and most of April, No Jacket Required by Phil Collins was the number one album. After that, We Are the World by USA for Africa. Now this is going to spill in just so then we could just get that one over with. We Are the World was I think it was for charity?
Yeah, so it was for, according to the Wikipedia page of all things, We Are the World is a 1985 album that contains USA for Africa's We Are the World, a superstar charity recording for famine relief efforts in Ethiopia.
Okay. Yeah, people on this song included Ray Charles. I'm going to just name them all. Ray Charles, Bob Dylan, Michael Jackson, Billy Joel, Cyndi Lauper, Steve Perry from Journey, Kenny Loggins, Willie Nelson, Lionel Richie, Smokey Robinson, just a ton of people.
Prince,
Paul Simon,
Chicago, Bruce Springsteen,
Diana Ross, like everybody. It's one of the most famous collaborations, I think, ever in music history. If you don't know it, or you don't think you know it, you definitely do if you just listen to it. If you just search it on YouTube, you'll know it. Unless you're like, I don't know, like 16 or something right now, then you probably won't know it. But yeah, it's an okay song, and it was for a good cause and everything.
It's a pretty crummy song, but it was for a good cause.
Yeah,
it's more just like the fascination of seeing all those people in the same room. You're like, what the heck?
Exactly. And like, I have the 45 of it somewhere around here, and I don't know. It's just the music video is what I remember of We Are the World. And I think you see a lot of stuff like this, like We Are the World, where they're doing it for charity. You see a lot of that stuff happening this year. And we'll talk about that more in the event section, because a lot of crazy festivals occurred in 1985 that were for different benefits and everything like that.
Yeah.
The next, all right, so we were at We Are the World. And then Phil Collins came back.
He beat out We Are the World. He's like, come back, get back here.
Yeah, for just a short hiatus. After that, it was Around the World in a Day by Prince and the Revolution. The follow-up to Purple Rain. Really, the only song that I know on this one is Raspberry Beret. That was the big song. Other than that, I have never listened to this album.
I've never listened to that album either. So Raspberry Beret is pretty much all I'm familiar with as well.
Raspberry Beret, one of the best Prince songs. It is so good.
Yeah, it's probably one of the best Prince songs.
Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack was.
So this had what, like Axel F on it?
Yeah.
That song?
Yeah. I would assume that would be why it even got on here. I would think. I don't know though.
That movie has a good soundtrack actually. Like I'm thinking about it in my head now, and it all kind of centers around that one tune that they play all the time. But it's got a pretty good soundtrack to it.
And that was for the ending of June, and then Phil Collins bringing it back. No Jacket Required.
Collins, good grief. Okay, let's talk about this Phil Collins album. What is on this Phil Collins album for a second? Because I haven't actually taken the chance to look. It has Susu Studio, so we're not on a good track so far. And then it has Only You and I Know, Long Way to Go, I Don't Want to Know. Man, he's talking about a lot of things he wants to know or not know. One More Night, Don't Lose My Number, Who Said I Would, Doesn't Anybody Stay Together Anymore, Inside Out, and Take Me Home. Those are the 10 tracks on the album. Gonna be honest, I know Susu Studio, and that is it.
Yeah, that's really it. I don't
that
like
song is very bad.
Not a big fan. I wasn't really a big fan of Phil Collins' solo efforts. I do like when it was Phil Collins at Genesis. Like I thought his stuff with Genesis was really good. Like Duke.
We listed one of his songs earlier as a single, and I really like that song. But yeah, I'm not a huge Phil Collins guy myself. What was that song we listed earlier? Easy Lover. Easy Lover is an awesome song.
So yeah, I mean that. It just seems to have always come back. So it's definitely one of the dominating albums of 1985. That's for sure. One of my favorite albums. I think about it, and I feel like this is like one of my favorite albums ever. It's all in all, I think it very cohesive.
Yeah, we can get into this a bit.
We'll get into that later. But yeah, Songs from the Big Chair by Tears for Fears is dominated, I think, 3 weeks.
3 or 4 weeks, yeah.
And so it's the end of July and beginning of August. Great album. I love that album so much. Reckless by Bryan Adams in the middle of August and some of September. Brothers in Arms by Dire Straits was number 1 in September and some of October. This is where Miami Vice comes in November. And yeah, that was the number 1. Is it really just that song that sold that album?
Which song? Their theme?
Like the theme song?
I don't know. I mean, that show kind of had cool music as a whole, I guess. So that probably helped. I mean, the theme song is the notable one, but there's probably a couple other tracks on there. I'm not familiar with Miami Vice at all, though.
Yeah, neither am I. Heart by Heart. Wait.
I didn't realize. Yeah, I think this is so this is
their Barracuda?
No, this is their 8th studio album. And I'm looking at the track listing, and it does not have anything I am very familiar with.
I knew the only albums I know are that I know by name really is just Dreamboat Annie. I don't remember what the other ones are called. Yeah. I know what the album cover looks like for the Barracuda one, but that's about it.
Yeah.
And then Miami Vice coming back in for the last week of December, or last week of 1985.
And then, I don't know if we said it before, but Born in the USA was the best performing album. It sold the most copies out of all of these throughout the year. But that said, it only dominated 3 weeks out of the year compared to Phil Collins, who kept coming back from the dead, and Dire Straits, which had the number 1 highest selling album for 6 or 7, 8 straight weeks or something like that. So despite all of that, Born in the USA was the number 1 highest selling album of 1985.
That's interesting. It just was steady the entire time it was out.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I would honestly say album cover wise, that is the one I'm probably the most familiar with out of this list.
Yeah.
Like every like you said, that's what we say before. If you go into your dad's attic or something and you go through his records, that's the one. That's one of the ones you'll find.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that's one of those records.
Yeah, definitely one of those albums. Yeah, definitely one of the records for sure. Let's talk about some of the Grammy stuff that happened.
Yeah, so the Grammys
27th.
Was it the 27th? It's the 28th.
Is it?
Says to me. 27th was in
Oh,
85,
yeah, that's right.
So you have to go to the following year.
Yeah, that's right.
So as far as Grammy Awards go, Record of the Year went to We Are the World. Shocker, produced by Quincy Jones. Album of the Year went to Phil Collins for No Jacket Required. So there's that. Song of the Year was We Are the World. So there's that again. I don't know. This song's just not very good. I understand the message and the meaning behind it, and it was a good thing. Very good thing. But just song, yeah, okay. Best New Artist was Sade. Is that how you say it?
It's either that or Sade.
I think it's Sade. As far as other subcategories go that we can go through really quickly, I think Best Instrumental Composition went to the Miami Vice theme, so there's that for you. Best Album of Original Score written for a motion picture went to Beverly Hills Cop, so there that is popping up once again. And then there's all the different subcategories, folk, gospel, all that stuff that I don't think we need to dive too.
I was looking into music video because they have Best Music Video Short Form. Which went to We Are the World.
We Are the World, yeah.
Best Video Long Form went to Bruce Growers and Huey Lewis and the News for Huey Lewis and the News, the Heart of Rock and Roll.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the only one we would really look at here would be pop. So that would end Best Pop Vocal Performance for a Female went to Whitney Houston for Saving All My Love for You. Best Vocal Performance by a Male went to Phil Collins for No Jacket Required. Go figure. Best Pop Performance by a Duo or a Group. You want to take a guess at what won that one, Michael? You want to just take a wild guess?
It's probably We Are the World.
Yeah, it was We Are the World. So this was the Grammys where We Are the World, I guess, won all of the major awards, you would call it. And again, there's 1,000 different subcategories and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but
it's probably because what's his name? Because Michael Jackson's on it. They just have to give him all the awards.
Yeah, it was Michael Jackson and Lionel Richie and Quincy Jones. So probably going to win. Probably going to win at that point in time.
More than likely. And then do you have the Oscars?
Yeah, I have the Oscars pulled up too. So we started this, last episode, I think?
I think so.
Where we went over who won the best original song and best original score. So at the Oscars this year, Best Original Song went to Say You, Say Me from the film White Nights by Lionel Richie. Others nominated were The Power of Love from Back to the Future, Miss Celile's Blues from The Color Purple, not familiar with that one, Separate Lives from the film White Nights, and then Surprise, Surprise from A Chorus Line. But Say You, Say Me by Lionel Richie was what won. And then Best Original Score went to Out of Africa, which was composed by John Barry. And then the rest that I'm seeing here that were nominated, I'm not really familiar with in any way. So we may not be too familiar with any of those that won. But there you go. There's that.
Solid. I like that Power of Love got a nomination.
It did, yeah.
It's a good song. It's
Back to the Future also won Best Sound Effects. So there's that.
Good. It deserves it.
It does deserve it.
All right, let's dive deep. All right, because these events that
are
happen,
we on to events already? Oh man.
Yeah. Well, already. I mean, it's good because there's so many things that happen, dude.
Yeah, there is.
VH1 began broadcasting in January of this year on American cable. From what it said, what Wikipedia says, it says that it was aimed towards an older audience than its competition, MTV. The first video that played was Marvin Gaye's rendition of the Star Spangled Banner.
How appropriate, I guess.
Yeah, right. I preferred. I think when I was a kid, the only reason why I watched MTV mostly was to watch Beavis and Butthead, and otherwise I did watch a lot more VH1, because they did play older stuff, kind of. Like, so it would have been like 94, 95, and yeah, they played more classic rock stuff. That's what my dad listened to, so he would tune in more to VH1. Not MTV usually had a lot of the poppier stuff or the stuff that was recent. So I did see like a lot of Stone Temple Pilots and stuff like that at that point. Nirvana, that would be on MTV, and then all the older stuff would be on VH1.
Yeah.
So yeah,
There's a dog trying to murder you.
Dude, this dog's been barking for so freaking long.
Is it outside or in your house?
It's in the house, and it's because there's a guy mowing the lawn right now, and I'm pretty sure they're gonna lose their bark box. You know?
Is that a thing?
I don't know. I would assume it's like if a person talks too much or screams out loud for no reason, like they lose their voice. Dogs could lose their voice, right?
You would think so, yeah. But I don't know. They also do a bunch of other weird stuff, like eat their own vomit and sniff other dogs' butts. So
yeah,
there's that.
You know, speaking of drinking your own vomit, the first Rock in Rio happened. A lot of fans were probably doing that, I would assume.
I would assume so, yeah.
I don't really know. You know, I wasn't born in the 80s, so I wouldn't know. But first Rock in Rio happened. 1.5 million people attended. This is one of like the biggest festivals in music history. It had, and I think this was the inaugural Rock in Rio. It's happened on like random years too. It doesn't happen every year. People who performed were the likes of Iron Maiden, the B-52s, the Go-Go's, Queen, Rod Stewart, AC/DC. Those are just some of the people that performed there. So
it was a pretty big B-52s performing at that, man.
B-52s were big, dude. They were big. They were a big band back in the day.
They just always seemed like a lounge band to me. Like seeing them in a setting where it would be like in front of 1 million people is like that doesn't make any sense.
Just blasting Rock Lobster, dude. Just like going crazy on Rock Lobster. Rome is a sick song, though. I really do like Rome. I think that's a great B-52 song. I'm not really big into B-52s. My one friend loves the B-52s, but
just remember, Love Shack.
I never really got it.
A little old place where we can get together.
No.
It's about all you need to know.
No.
Rock Lobster, though, seriously, probably one of the best songs ever made. And that's not a joke in any way at all. I'm 100% serious about that.
I totally disagree with you, but, you know, whatever. We already talked about We Are the World more than we needed to, so we're going to just skip that.
I'll say this. Rock Lobster is the room of songs.
The room of... Okay, I could get down with that. It's so bad it's good.
It's so bad that it's amazing.
Yeah. Okay.
In the same way that The Room is like one of my 10 favorite movies ever, Rock Lobster is also one of my favorite songs ever.
Oh my God. All right. Jesus Christ. A big one for us, since we are more on the rock spectrum of music, David Lee Roth leaves Van Halen this year. So this would be right after the album. I would assume it's right after the album 1984.
You would think, probably.
Right?
Yeah.
Hot for a Teacher.
Yeah, actually, I do know. Yeah, that was their last album. So
yeah. So that kind of sucks, but whatever. He had his solo career with Steve Vai as his guitarist, where they played Yankee Rose. I remember, and they did a cover of a Frank Sinatra song. They did That's Life. That's right. So yeah, that was weird. Whatever. He had a crazy band though. David Lee Roth. He had Steve Vai, Billy Sheehan, and I think Greg Bassinet was his drummer. Like that's a crazy band.
Van Hagar is just like, not good. Like the Sammy Hagar years just they don't click with me.
It didn't when I was in high school, and again, like Bruce Springsteen, I was just like, oh, this is garbage. whatever. This isn't real rock music or whatever I would say. And I listened to it again. I think like last year I listened to, I don't know if it was 5150. I can't remember which one, but it has the one song Higher, or is that what it's called? The one that was in Power Rangers?
I have no idea. The most recent Power Rangers movie?
No, the old Power Rangers movie.
Oh,
It's like, and we get higher and higher.
That is
oh baby girl.
Is that Dreams?
Oh
I
yeah,
think
it is
that's
Dreams.
Dreams.
And what dreams are made of? Yeah, it's that song.
That was in Power Rangers?
Yeah, dude, that was in Power Rangers. That's a good song. I like that song. So
that's a good song. Yeah, there's like a couple select Sammy Hagar songs.
I think that has
Van Halen that
This
I like.
Is Love. Like, this is love that I'm feeling.
No, that's Whitesnake.
Is it? Damn.
Yeah.
Well, what's the one love song? What's the one? I can't remember.
Right Now is probably what you're thinking of.
No,
with
it's
the
not
piano.
Right. I'll look it up.
Right Now is a good song though.
It's not Right Now, but anyway, yeah, that happened.
Why Can't This Be Love?
That's it.
That's a pretty good song.
I like that song.
They're not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't bad. It was just like by comparison to the David Lee Roth years, David Lee Roth has like a stage presence to him.
It's
he's one of the better front men for a rock group ever, even though I think the dude himself, like he can sing well and he's all over the place, but he's a total douchebag. And like, I don't really like David Lee Roth, but what he brings to Van Halen is like, all right, this band is objectively better with him around, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a different band altogether. I think there's just a different sound. They're going for something different when it was with Sammy Hagar than with David Lee Roth. So that's fine. To each their own. I'm more of a David Lee Roth Van Halen fan than a Van Hagar fan, but whatever.
I just realized that we're gonna have to make the thumbnail for this, that We Are the World
God,
image.
no. Wham. We're going back into news events. Wham was the first Western pop group to perform in China, which is interesting. I'm guessing. Oh no, I guess they. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I thought it was like. I thought Cheap Trick had performed in China before, but that was Japan, so never mind.
The desire for Careless Whisper in China just could. It was needed.
Dude,
they needed to get over there.
Every time China they get up, they get up from their sleep, their slumber, they just get up, and they just want people to wake them up before they go.
That's true. It's very true. It's that has been rooted in Asian culture for
not just Asian culture. It's Chinese culture specifically.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Not to paint with a broad strokes.
Don't be racist. All right. Don't generalize. No generalizations here. Live Aid.
So stupid.
Speaking of generalizations, no. I don't even know what that means. Live Aid concert, another really big event, like concert event, festival, whatever you want to call it, happened at Wembley Stadium, which is in the UK, and a JFK Stadium in Philadelphia. I believe, okay, so Led Zeppelin reunited at one of these. I think it was the UK one. That only makes sense that they would have been to Wembley Stadium.
Yeah.
Which is really big. That's huge. I would have assumed Jason Bonham was the drummer.
I think so, yeah.
A much younger Jason Bonham of his band Bonham.
Jason Bonham from the band Bonham.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Michael Jackson, this is a big one. Michael Jackson purchases the publishing rights for the Beatles song.
This screwed everything up for a very long time.
Oh my god. What a thing that he did. My god.
Like, this is so tell me if I'm right here, or right or wrong with this. I can't remember, but for like the longest time, their music was on lockdown. Like, you couldn't get it in Rock Band or Guitar Hero. It wasn't even on iTunes. Like, you could not find anything, and none of their music was re-released for like the longest time. Finally, it all came out like what, 5 or 10 years ago, and then they re-released like every album remastered or something like that.
Guess what happened when those things came out?
What happened?
Michael Jackson died.
Yes, true. I don't know if the two were in court. I don't know if there's a correlation between the two, though.
Yeah.
So back to generalizations. I don't want to. I'm not sure what happened with that actually. It was a couple years after he died. Like it was more.
It was pretty recent. Like that is a recent thing that happened.
I was in like high school, I think, when it happened.
Yeah,
I think Michael Jackson died when I was in like middle school, so it was a couple years after that.
Michael Jackson died, I think, in 2010.
Yeah, but what is like? How do you not own your own music? Like, and I know there's a huge, long story to this. We could probably spend an entire show discussing this and doing research on this whole ordeal itself and talking just about that. But
publishing rights, so that means, oh my god, that's crazy. Like that, only with his stamp of approval could he be like, yes, you can make that reissue of White Album, or yes, you can put that song in a. That's insane to me. That I mean, how much money? Like,
how much did that cost?
Like, what did he?
All right, I'm gonna actually look up how much it cost.
It just that amount of money would just boggle my mind. Like, it makes no sense. I'm gonna guess 150 million.
Okay, so we also have to remember that during this time, Michael Jackson and Paul McCartney are friends. They have worked together multiple times. He has appeared on Thriller.
Yep.
What, The Girl Is Mine? Is that what it is? So
yeah, maybe
on Thriller. Michael Jackson did Say with Paul McCartney on his album.
So I'm thinking that The Girl Is Mine. The girl is
was
the
actually the
publishing rights.
That's
and they were fighting over it, and that's what happened.
So okay. So I found a quick article. I'm skimming through it. I'm trying to get the gist of it really quickly.
Just get the dollar amount. That's all I want to know.
Michael Jackson submitted an offer of $46 million.
Oh, that's a lot less than I said it was.
I don't know. There's like so much to this.
Yeah, we don't have to. We don't have to get. Let's not get into that. Let's not get into that.
Okay, he purchased the entire catalog, for $47.5 million.
Damn, dude. That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, but honestly, that's kind of chump change to have the Beatles catalog. Like, you could multiply that by 10, I feel like, if you had those rights. Like, if somebody gave me a small loan of $50 million and they're like, hey, you could buy the Beatles publishing rights, I would do that in a heartbeat, because I could probably remake all my money in mere seconds.
Yeah. That's not wrong. Not wrong at all.
So, I mean, this article is very long that I'm looking at, but basically that pissed Paul. So Paul was bidding for the rights too, because I guess he wanted to have his own publishing rights or whatever, and they were both bidding on him, and Michael Jackson just outbid him, and so Michael Jackson got the publishing rights, and Paul McCartney never worked with him again. Yeah, so that's that's a very strange scenario. Like, Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson are probably two of the top 10 musicians of all time in terms of like importance, I would say.
Importance, popularity, whatever.
Popularity as well. Yeah. So that's just a very odd thing that happened.
Yeah. That's kind of shitty of Michael Jackson to do.
Yeah, kind of.
Like, the guy just wants his music and you just take it away from him.
He's like, yeah, like, I wrote all this. Could I just I have the money to buy it. Can I just do that, please?
That's ridiculous. All right. A big one for me, because I have a pretty big stance on it, was the Parents Music Resource Center's United States Senate hearing on rock censorship occurred in 1985. This was a whole thing with Tipper Gore saying that, like, music and censorship, pretty much, like this is how parental advisory became a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Dee Snider, Frank Zappa, and John Denver testified the thing.
That's the oddest group of three.
Yeah, dude.
Three musicians ever.
But when you listen to like what they have to say, they're actually some of like the smartest people to do that. Like
Dude,
Frank Zappa.
D. Snyder is like very, very smart guy.
Yeah, and Frank Zappa is again like another very, very intelligent person. So I don't know anything about John Denver really, but these would be the people I think.
Smart. He's probably smart. He learned a lot on those country roads that took him home. And
I would assume so. But
wait, no, country roads, is that him?
I don't know.
I may have just been stupid. What am I thinking of?
I don't know anything about John Denver. So
okay. Let me check and see if I'm stupid here.
But yeah, I mean, obviously I'm on the side of, no censorship as far as like when you're making art, because this is what music is. Music is an art form.
John Denver did write Country Road, so I'm not that stupid.
No, you're a very, even if you were stupid, you're still beautiful, and that's all that matters.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, I mean, I'm on the side of, not censoring and all that stuff, but I mean, like a rated R movie, sometimes you have to make sure some people don't listen to things that may influence them in some bad way. And that was like some of the stuff that they were saying. Before this was another event that happened. Some kids killed themselves because they listened to a Judas Priest album and thought it was like subliminal messaging within the music and stuff like that. There's a lot of that stuff happening at the time. I mean, Prince and his, think about it. Prince's Purple Rain didn't have a parental advisory sticker on it. And I don't think it still does, but there are some really, rated R things. Yeah, risque things in Purple Rain. So
I mean, it's like that in most of Prince's music.
Yeah, I mean, there's a giant penis on the album art for 1999. So I mean, that's where we're at with this. But yeah, again, I am on that stance. I have a very opinionated stance on censorship and stuff, just in general. So
no, I mean, I think most people do. I mean, and they didn't censor anything. I mean, they put a warning label on it. But I mean, that's about.
Which I think
you should do that. That's the right move.
There's. I mean, to control people to say oh, you can't say this certain thing in their art form or whatever. I think would be
it's
ridiculous.
Artistic expression. So I mean, you got to have freedom to speak your mind or whatever.
Yeah. So, yeah, that happened. And then the very last thing, as always, the 14th annual New Year's Rockin' Eve.
We always got to do this.
We always got to do it, dude. With appearances by Four Tops, The Judds, Barry Manilow, The Motels, Tears for Fears, and The Temptations. So
there we go. New Year's Rockin' Eve.
Yeah. Pretty okay. I like The Temptations. I like the Tears for Fears. Barry
Manilow.
Manilow.
More old school groups that they bring in.
Yeah, that's true. And then last but not least, a good way to always end is the deaths that happened. Some notable ones. I mean, I always feel bad because we don't put the entire thing in, but I mean, if we said some Irish composer, nobody would know what that is.
I mean, there's a lot of albums there's a lot of things we don't mention here.
And even on this one specifically, I don't really know a lot of the people. Oh, somebody from the B-52s did die though this year.
Really?
I think so, and I forgot to put it on there. But Ian Stewart, a co-founder of the Rolling Stones, I believe he was like a piano player, keyboard player. He died. I think he was 42 of a heart attack. Pretty sad. Big Joe Turner, a blues. I don't know if he was a guitarist, but a blues artist, died of old age. I would suppose he died when he was 74. D. Boone of the Minutemen. I cannot put my hand on who the Minutemen is. I know who that is, but he died in a car accident at the age of 27.
Forever 27.
And then Ricky Nelson died in a plane crash at the age of 45. So those are the deaths of 1985. May they rest in peace. So
now let's talk about our favorites. Yeah.
All right. Sick. Logan, why don't you start?
So Michael has a much more extensive list this week than I do. When I was looking through the albums and songs this week that stood out to me, and I guess, I mean, I'll probably reiterate this too when we get to our closing thoughts, what you think about the year kind of thing. But there's just a lot of good singles that you identify with, oh, that is the 80s. Like we said, Careless Whisper, Wake Me Up Before You Go Go. I Want to Know What Love Is. Easy Lover. Take On Me. Like just Don't You Forget About Me, The Power of Love. Like there's just all these songs, and like I couldn't. So I don't have a lot of albums this week, but those pop songs, like we said, they have really stood the test of time to where like they still feel fresh and new almost to a degree in 2017. I don't know why that sounded wrong in my head for a second. They still sound like they're still good songs today, and they're songs that have, like I've said at the top of the show, like they've stood the test of time. And those are the songs that you identify with this era. And so when you hear those, it's almost like a time capsule in a way, hearing each of those songs. So honestly, like as far as like my favorites, it's kind of tacky this week, but a lot of the pop stuff from this era was like legitimately very, very good. And it's just because there's really no other music like it throughout history. Like 80s music is kind of it. 80s pop music specifically is kind of its own thing. And within 10 seconds of a song, like, oh, this is obviously from the 80s, just because of the synths and the keyboards and just the echoey guitar and stuff like that. Like there are certain things that are just so identifiable with the 80s. And so a lot of the singles from this year, I guess, would be under my favorites, just because I think some of that 80s pop music is so good. In addition to that, though, let's talk about another single we haven't talked about yet, which is Eddie Murphy's Party All the Time.
Oh yeah.
Just a classic.
It's such a good music video.
I don't think people know this exists. Like he has done such a good job retroactively of hiding this and pretending that it doesn't exist. If you're not aware, Eddie Murphy released an album at one time, and it was not a comedy album. It was an album where he actually sang.
Yeah.
And he had this single, Party All the Time, which is a horrible, horrible song. And people just make fun of it now. But if you ever bring it up to him, he pretty much doesn't respond about it. Like he knows it's bad. And he's like I said, like no one really, like most people I brought this up to, like, oh, Eddie Murphy made an album. Like here's this song. And they're like, what? Eddie Murphy? What are you talking about? Like you don't know that this exists. And it's just like you said, Michael, like the music video is straight up hilarious. Isn't it just him in the recording studio, and isn't Rick James like in the booth and he's just like nodding his head the whole time?
Yeah,
like,
he's just like,
this is really good, man.
Sick beats, dude. It's pretty freaking hilarious. It's so good.
It's a really funny music video. So go look it up. Eddie Murphy Party All the Time. It's terrible, but you'll laugh very hard. In addition to that, so I'll save two of ours are the same, or one of ours is the same. So I'll save the Tears for Fears one when you bring that up. I wanted to mention Soul to Soul by Stevie Ray Vaughan, who I said was one of probably my favorite blues artist ever, but also like one of my favorite guitarists ever. There's a couple good tracks on this album. Say What, Look at Little Sister, Ain't Gonna Give Up on Love. It's Life Without You is also very good, and so is Empty Arms. Most Stevie Ray Vaughan music is just like fantastic. Like I think like his catalog of music is pretty small because he died so quickly. So pretty much all of his albums are very good. This one's a little bit more chill though. Like he shreds on every album, but this one is a bit more laid back, I think. But I dig that. Like I love that style of blues, the more groovy kind of laid back tunes. Stevie Ray Vaughan's fantastic though. If you've never listened to him, then you're doing yourself a disservice, and you should definitely give him a shot, because he is the king in my mind, even though that is BB's name. So Soul to Soul from Stevie Ray Vaughan is a fantastic album. Brothers in Arms, we mentioned it at the top with Dire Straits. That's a really good album. That's their most popular album. It was one of the highest sold albums this year, like we said. Like it is just kind of in the same vein as like it's not really poppy. I wouldn't say, but I don't know. There's just a bunch of good tracks on it. Like the one most people would probably know would be what's it called? Money for Nothing?
Money for Nothing, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the big track.
Was Sultans of Swing on this?
Sultans of Swing was not on this. Walk of Life was though, and so was So Far Away.
Yeah.
So I mean, those are like the big singles, I guess. But Money for Nothing is still the one you'll hear on the radio every day or two if you listen to the radio still. So I mean, that's a good album though. Dire Straits is like, they were big at the time, but I feel like no one really ever talks about them anymore. They're a group that I feel like really hasn't stood the test of time. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong there. Like, cause like I just said, Money for Nothing's on the radio all the time, and so is Sultans of Swing, but they're like collective catalog you don't hear too much about.
Yeah.
And they don't really tour anymore, if I'm correct either.
No, I don't think so.
So yeah, that's a good album. And then the last album that I forgot about, and then I thought of it, I realized what era we were in, and I checked to see if they made an album this year. And they, in fact, did make an album this year. So I can't go without mentioning Weird Al Yankovic's Dare to Be Stupid, which is an awesome album. I freaking love Weird Al. It's so stupid. They're all just spoof songs. I mean, he actually does have some original songs, and those are funny as well. But it's just dumb, childish humor that I still get a kick out of. So Dare to Be Stupid's got Like a Surgeon on it, which is obviously making fun of Like a Virgin. And then Dare to Be Stupid's an original song. I Want a New Duck, which is making fun of I Want a New Drug. Yoda's on this, which is a spoof of Lola. And then, of course, he's got a polka song on there. He's got Girls Just Want to Have Lunch, which is, it's just stupid. Like, Weird Al is straight up just dumb, but I love him. I have listened to his music since I was a kid. I've always just been like infatuated with what he does and what his gimmick is. Like, I think it's so, like, I still think it's funny today, and it's something that hasn't really ever worn off on me. I actually saw him a few years ago at Bonnaroo, and the show was just awesome. Like, it was so, I mean, he would run backstage and he'd come back out and he's like in his fat suit or something like that, and then he'd run back out and he'd come back out and he's dressed up like Kurt Cobain or something like that. Like, the dude's just a great performer, and he's still going strong. Like, the music he puts out, he doesn't put out as many albums as he used to, but when he does, they're still of a very high quality. So
he said that he was done, and then he came out with another album, and then he said he was done now. So I don't know if he's actually done.
I feel like he had to do one more album for that record label or something like that, and then he was done, or something along those lines. I forget, because it was when I forget what the name of the album is. I bought it and I listened to it. But yeah, I think he might be done. Yeah, Mandatory Fun was the name of it. Came out in 2014.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's done right now. I know he still tours, but I don't know if he's going to make any new music. And he doesn't really need to. Dude's got like 20 albums out there. So I think he's fine for a while. Yeah.
I don't think he needs to make any more albums.
especially because people just want to hear him play like the same. I mean, his new, like I said, his new stuff's always funny as well, but it's like, you want to see him do Fat and get in the fat suit and dance around like an idiot. You want to see him do Smells Like Nirvana. There's like a select group of 4 or 5 that you always want to see him do, and he always has to hit those. Amish Paradise, White and Nerdy. Like, there's just a group that he always will do regardless. But
yeah. All right. So these are mine. I don't have any songs. I guess if I could say a song, it'd be Take On Me by Aha. I love that song. I think it's so great. Fun fact, that was the song that I put on my helicopter when I played Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yes, I think we talked about that last week.
Did we?
A couple weeks ago, whenever that was.
We did talk about that. We've been trying
to add a video game element to the show when that applies, which I guess Super Mario Bros. Pretty famous soundtrack this year.
Yeah.
Same with Zelda, maybe? I don't know. Did that come out in 85?
No, but no. I can't think of anything. The Duck Hunt?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Why not? I don't have any songs, but that would be the one. I do really like that song. And when your helicopter flies in Metal Gear Solid 5 and you hear in the distance Like, it's so good, dude. It's so funny. So yeah, that would be my song. Albums. I have a lot of albums. I'm gonna kind of fly through it, and then we'll talk about the one that we both like. So, Psycho Candy by the Jesus and Mary Chain. This was something that my brother got me into. Very, very heavy and noisy, and that's why I like it. Just a wall of noise and like weird filters on their voices. It's pretty good. I wouldn't recommend it to everybody. If you're into like, I feel like this was almost like kind of the beginnings of like grungier kind of sounds. Some people would say Neil Young is like grandfather of grunge or whatever, but this is where like you just get really loud noise and just whatever. So it's really good. I enjoy it. Head on the Door by The Cure. I listened to this album pretty recently because I always liked The Cure, but I always listened to like the Greatest Hits album. And then maybe 2 years ago, I started listening to just full albums, and I found out that The Cure has really good songs other than their singles. And, surprise, surprise, a band can make better songs than just their singles that they have. And this one, I would say this album, and maybe there's like two others that I'm really into. And this one I think had In Between Days. I think was like one of the really big songs that were on there. Is that and Close to Me were on here, I believe. Those
Close
are like
to Me is also on there. Yeah. In Between Days is like the standout track though.
Yeah. And those are like two of my favorite Cure songs. So it's a great album. I definitely recommend it. I could not go without saying a Rush album.
Of course.
So Power Windows came out in 1985.
My gosh, man. They released so many albums. It's ridiculous.
So with hits like The Big Money, and I think that was it. but one of my favorites songs is on here. I really do like the Manhattan Project. I think that's an awesome song.
That's a good one. Yeah.
And it's like really informative in some weird ways. Like, I wouldn't know that the plane's name was the Enola Gay if I didn't listen to the song a lot.
Thanks, Neil Peart.
Thank you, Neil Peart, for teaching me things. So yeah, and again, The Big Money was like the really big track on it, but it had some pretty solid stuff on there too. I think Grand Designs was another one on there that was a really good track, and Mystic Rhythms has a very iconic drum beat that he uses a lot in his drum solos, kind of. You could see like that's where he got it from. So good album. Not the best Rush album, but it's Rush and they're all good. Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good by Megadeth came out. This was, I think, their debut album. And there's no really famous tracks on it. I just think it's a very good thrash metal album. And it has like his version, Dave Mustaine's version of the Four Horsemen called Mechanics. Listen to Mechanics. It's the Four Horsemen, whatever, by Metallica. It's the same song, just faster. It's legitimately the same thing. I put Meat is Murder by the Smiths. Not my favorite, but I do like the Smiths.
This came out this year?
Yeah.
Okay, good album. Well, I like that album then.
It's definitely not my favorite. My favorite's The Queen Is Dead. But Meat is Murder, a lot of people love Meat is Murder. I think it's something to say because it is a lot of people's like favorite Smiths album, I would say.
Yeah, it's generally that's probably everyone's favorite, I would say, yeah. Yeah,
I would say that or The Queen Is Dead. Or that would be those would be the two I would assume. That would be a lot of people's favorites. My favorite track on this one is Nowhere Fast. That's probably my favorite track on this one.
Headmaster Ritual, though, like it sounds like so. That's like one of their like most notable songs, and it's like, well, yeah, duh, of course you'd say that one. Like that song is so good, though. Like, there's a reason that's their most popular. Shout out to Barbarism Begins at Home. That song has one of the grooviest bass lines I've ever heard in my life.
That is a good one.
And if you listen to the actual album version, so there's a single version and the album version of that song. Listening to the album version of that song, there's like a 30 or 40-second riff at the end where it is they cut out all other instruments and it is just the bass. and it is so cool.
Yeah,
Like that is the best part of that song.
It is pretty sick. The album's good. Not my favorite, but I just wanted to say it because I think it is a very notable album to listen to.
And then How Soon Is Now is like maybe one of their most popular songs ever.
I would say that is their most popular song. Other than Please, Please, Please Let Me Get What I Want.
Yeah, those two, and then
in a modern era, I think Please, Please, Please is like is their most famous song because of a lot of movies use it. I mean, 500 Days of Summer used it. A lot of people covered it recently. So,
was it in Ferris Bueller? There's a song of theirs.
Is there?
There's a song of theirs in Ferris Bueller. It might be that. It's when they go to the art museum. It's not.
It is that. It's not. Yeah. No, it is. It is that, but it's not them. It's a instrumental cover of the song.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, that's what it is. Another album, like probably my favorite. Well, yeah, I would say it's probably my favorite next to the next one that I'm going to say, which we'll both get into, is Tim by The Replacements. This is, in my opinion, The Replacements are in some ways either a punk band, like just very punk, or very like alternative when you get later on, especially on their last album. But Tim, I think, is the perfect melding of the two, and they have just some of, like, honestly, their best tracks that they've ever made. Left of the Dial is probably my favorite on there, and Kiss Me on the Bus is another really good one. So that out of any of the albums that I'm going to say, that is the one that I think everybody should listen to. It's something that would have flown under your radar. And if you're into, I guess not punk, but into like alternative, that's a little bit more on the raw side, I would say listen to it. And then the last one that is both on mine and Logan's list is Songs from the Big Chair by Tears for Fears, which I think is a really, really great album. They just, each song on there, it melds together very well, especially on like, what's it called? Head Over Heels, and then whatever this Time Flies.
Yeah.
Like that entire thing is a really cool, I don't know what that would be called, like 2-part song. Just every song on there is really great. I mean, it has Shout, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. It's just a great album all in all.
I think if I was to choose one song that almost defines the 80s to me, it would probably be Everybody Wants to Rule the World. And this kind of goes back to, like, so I like Tears for Fears more than just the, like, I talked about how much I like all the pop singles from this year, but I like Tears for Fears, like, as a group more than I do just, like, their singles and stuff like that. Like, they seriously have, like, some very, like, I mean, they're a great band. They're a very good band. But like, as far as their singles go, and specifically off of this album, like Everybody Wants to Rule the World, like to me, that is the one like 80s song.
No,
like,
I definitely agree.
Like when I hear that song, I don't know. It's just been used, and it's probably just because it's been used in so many movies and things like that. And have you ever seen Donnie Darko? I assume too. Like,
yeah,
they've got Head Over Heels.
Dude, I love Head Over Heels, and it's because of that movie. But that song is so good.
It is very good. So, yeah. I don't know. This album and just their music in general really speaks 80s to me, and like this is where the new wave thing was really kind of hitting its stride. I think this album was kind of the peak, and then everything after this was, I don't know. It seemed like it was starting to die off a little bit. Tears for Fears, and the Talking Heads are like the two new wave groups to me that were like really.
I would put the Police in there.
I guess we consider them that.
They're like the beginning of new wave.
Okay, then the Police are obviously on there.
U2? Are they considered new wave?
I consider them more like just rock in general, I guess. I mean, they've got like the sweeping echo stuff, but that's like.
Yeah, I guess
it's a product of that. I don't know. They're a mishmash of more things. I don't know.
Yeah.
Tears for Fears and like Talking Heads to me though are like new wave defined though. Like if you were to ask me what new wave music to listen to, I'd probably say those two. And then I don't know, the Police, I guess it would have to be. Police are almost like reggae at times though,
that's the thing is like new wave was made from the punk scene, and the Police were like the beginning of that. So the Police started in around I think 78, 79, and same with U2 and stuff like that. So they're kind of the ones who kind of ushered in that sound.
And then you have groups like NXS and stuff like that were also coming around then. And
NXS is another huge new wave band for sure. They're great. I love NXS. But so yeah, I agree. Like I think this is the end mark for like new wave, like good new wave.
Yeah, like pushing the boundaries of the genre before it kind of started. We started dipping our toes into grunge music, and the Pixies start coming along and setting the ground for that. Actually, were the Pixies around at this point? I'm not even sure.
I just looked it up because I was like, oh, did they have an album that came out? They formed in 1985.
Okay, so that is very spot on.
And I think Come On Pilgrim came out the next year.
Okay, so there we go. So once the Pixies started coming around, that was really... The Sonic Youth came out with an album this year too. I know those two are like the original grunge groups in a lot of ways, and like everything was kind of built on that. And a lot of people don't know about that or think about that. And the grunge movement kind of developed in its own way, and we talked about that with sort of with '93 because grunge had already hit its stride by that time.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you ask any famous group like, who are you influenced by or something like that, at the time they'd be like, oh, the Pixies. Like they were one of the first groups that really started that whole alternative rock grunge movement. So I agree. This album I think was the last, it was the peak of new wave. And then there was a lot after this too. Like that, I mean, Tears for Fears didn't go away, neither did the Talking Heads or any of these other groups. But I think this was just like one of the high points. And then after this, it was kind of like it started getting quieter. And I don't even think it got bad. It was just like its presence wasn't felt as much anymore after this point.
Yeah, I agree for sure. So yeah, that is 1985. What do you think?
I mean, we've kind of added our analysis throughout. I mean, it sounds dumb to say, but this was when the 80s were in the most 80s potentially, I think. And of course, because it's in the middle of the decade, so that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, this is, I mean, when you go back and look at this year and see what's here, not only in terms of the music with Wham and Aha and all of these other just notable singles that everybody knows, mainly probably because of their parents, but everybody knows and is familiar with so many singles that came out this year. But then just Back to the Future and the NES coming out, and like we said, WrestleMania, like all the culture things, like this is the most 80s year potentially. And we haven't done research on the others, but just seeing how many things were stacked into this one year, we were both kind of shocked by that.
Yeah. No, yeah, we were doing the research thing like not much before the show started, but we were doing it, and like all these events that happened, like Rock in Rio, We Are the World came out.
Yeah.
David Lee Roth leaving. What's it called? The whole censorship of like music and stuff like that. That is some of the most like some of the biggest things that happened with music in the 80s, and it all happened in 85. Like Live Aid, that's a huge thing too. Like
that was a big deal.
It's crazy, like how big of a year 1985 was, and I didn't really think of it. Not like how I thought of like 1969, right? Because 1969 we know is Woodstock, and Woodstock is a huge festival, and it influenced so many people. Whereas like 1985, you don't think about it, and then when you go and look at it, it's like, holy cow.
I thought 84 was bigger, honestly, and it might be. Obviously, I haven't done a whole lot of research on 84 yet, but again, I mean, just the amalgamation of music and what music was doing in this time too, like we were talking about with new wave and the experimentation that had been done with keyboards and synths and the different type of sounds that people were getting out of their guitars. I think had finally hit its high point in 85, and then things started to change after that. So this was like when it was at its best, because the few years kind of leading up to this, it's like you see groups trying to do some different things, but it's like, what are you doing? So it's like in that weird transition phase. So I mean, it sounds like so stupid, but 85 is like the purest. It seems like the purest 80s year almost, just because it was smack in the middle of that decade. And so, I mean, that's obvious, but I mean, when you look at it, like, it's really, oh yeah, like, look at everything happening this year. Like, this is what people think about when they think about the 80s. Like, there are so many things happening in this year.
Yeah, I agree. Big year. A lot bigger than we thought.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with the events. Way more of those than we expected.
Yeah.
So, which was nice, because there hasn't been a lot in many of the others. Woodstock was the big one, but most of the others, it's just been like, all right, let's look at New Year's Rockin' Eve, people.
I think that's always fun.
That is always funny.
So yeah, that was 1985. This was, I guess, the fifth
episode. Yeah.
Fifth episode of Reeling in the Years. Make sure to check out more of these podcasts if you haven't really listened to the rest of them. Make sure to check out the podcasts over at modelcitizensmedia.com. You can find this as well as Millennial Gaming Speak, which is our gaming podcast. We have Model Citizen Show, which is our bullshit podcast, and we have like we literally talk about bullshit, like, in some cases.
Yeah, just all the time.
All the time. We did talk about poop very recently.
Those episodes are hidden, though.
Yeah. Well, one of them isn't.
One of them isn't anymore, but two of them are.
And then we have Beneath the Pixel.
There you go. That's what it is.
Behind the Pixel with Max, and he's interviewing some really cool people, actually.
Oi potatoes and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, oi potatoes. Yeah, that's a little hint at who he interviewed. So,
more racism to close out the show or something.
Yeah, more racism. Whatever. It's fine. It's fine. Are you Irish?
Before you go to the potato farms. Pokemon go to the polls.
What?
Did you not hear that last year?
No.
When Clinton was campaigning, she told everyone to it was when Pokemon Go became a thing. She's like, I hear everybody's playing Pokemon Go, but you know what you should do in November is Pokemon Go to the polls.
Oh my God.
You can look up footage of it. It's really funny.
That's horrible. Anyway, check out the website. Follow the website at ModelPods on the Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at super_ruse. You can follow Logan on Twitter at moreman12.
We're on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play too. So go to all those places if you want to find any of our shows.
Yeah, go there. Yeah, review, do the star thing, or even even if it's a bad review, we kind of just want to know how we're doing. So also leave comments below if you're watching the video version. Like it, subscribe to us, all that fun stuff. And until next time, later.
Now, Mary Poppins, y'all.